In this episode, we dive deep into Laos' rich culture and shocking history. We drive some of the best roads in the country. And we take a wild ride out into the jungle.
G'day, my name's Tom and this is Lucy, and we're riding our motorbike from my hometown of Perth, Western Australia,
all the way to my hometown of London, England.
If you missed our last episode, we have just crossed the Mekong River and entered into our sixth country of the trip, Laos. We were immediately distracted by some delicious street meat.
Show us what you got, Tom.
And a crispy cold beer Lao. And I mean really immediately. I think at this point we had yet to make it 20 meters into the country.
From the border, it's just a really short ride to the capital city of Laos, Vientiane. We had never been here before and had no idea what to expect, so we set out the next day to explore the city.
For a capital city, Vientiane is not what you might expect, especially compared to other capitals in the region. It's more quiet and calm, and Laos in general has a slower pace that we absolutely love, and it's not our first time here. In 2023, we bought this local bike in Vietnam and spent a few happy months driving it around Southeast Asia. Our time in the south of Laos especially has a lot to do with our decision to drive around the world. As you can see, our setup was a bit more basic back then. We attached our backpacks to the side of the bike with bungee cords, and we did not own any riding gear at all. But it lit a fire in us, and we swore that we'd be back one day to see more of this gorgeous country on two wheels.
And of course, we bump into these guys again. We all have a set entry date for China, which is about 30 days from now. That means we have to do a full service on the bikes and check over everything, make sure they're 100%. So we went to a local mechanic called Phuoc. He had all the oil and everything we need, so we could just do the services and stuff ourselves in his shop. And it was time to say goodbye to these guys again, but this time we don't know if we'll see them again.
This was actually a really sad moment. Laos was the sixth country in a row that we had run into each other, but we all knew it would probably be the last. Our routes and our timeframes would be really different from this point. You know, when we left Australia, we really intended to do the whole trip by ourselves. But traveling on and off with like-minded people made us realize that sharing the journey can be just as rewarding. We probably will be alone from here on out, mostly just because it's rare to meet anyone going the same way as us. And that's cool too. We have come to absolutely love our life on the road, and we have some really big plans for Laos, so let's look at the map. We started in Vientiane and decided it would be worth it to start by driving in completely the wrong direction so that we could complete the Thakak Loop. From here we wanted to follow some remote roads in the eastern part of the country near Vietnam. We would loop around from Phon Savan, taking the back roads all the way to Nong Kyor, spend some time relaxing in Luang Prabang before shooting up north to China.
footage from the Thekek Loop, and it was really just a stunning part of the country. There's these ancient stone carvings literally just on the side of the main road, swimming holes to escape the heat, and epic roads, all while surrounded by these limestone cast structures.
Good morning. Today we're kayaking. We are actually ahead of schedule at the moment. We've got a few extra days on our hands before we enter China, so we decided to make the most of it, have a day off the bike and go kayaking.
This turned out to be a really unique opportunity to see the country from a different perspective other than the road. We got a few curious looks from the local wildlife and from the local people wondering why we were floating down the river, but always followed with a smile and a wave.
We hung around for a bit to watch these local kids with their homemade diving gear looking for crustaceans under the rocks.
Wow. Whose idea was this, Lucy? Can't even console. Ah! She hit me!
I think this would be a nice spot for lunch.
You're a fucking psycho. It's pissing down raining. Let's go. Yeah, if it wasn't raining, it's perfect.
Apparently we hadn't had enough of boats, so the next day we made our way to the world's longest navigable underground river, which runs for 7 kilometers through Konglor Cave.
There was a bunch of blokes standing out the front of the cave offering to take people through in their boats, and obviously we managed to pick the one guy with the hole in his boat. We ended up carrying the boat for about 1 kilometre through the cave because it kept sinking. Who's a cave gremlin? After this, we deviated from the Thekek Loop and took what we'd hoped would be a more interesting road to Phon Savan.
Okay, I actually don't know where we are at the moment, somewhere rural. It's about 4 o'clock and we've decided that we're going to try to reach a small village called Mok, which is up in the mountains about 75 kilometres up a dirt road. And the plan at the moment is to make it there before sunset, so we'll see how that goes. We don't really know the condition of the road, but there's one way to find out.
This road was a barely visible squiggly little line on Google Maps, but we're starting to find these small squiggly lines are usually the most fun.
DR650 just ate up these roads, and we pulled into the sleepy little town of Moyang Mok just before sunset.
Take down most spiders this guy. Looks like he's got a bonga. Oh, you're looking straight at me.
Here we are near Phonsavan town at a really fascinating place known as the Plain of Jars. Thousands of these enormous granite vessels litter the landscape, placed here by prehistoric people for unknown reasons. Scientists believe they were probably used for some sort of ritual burial, but they're really difficult to study, mostly because only a small fraction of the jars have been cleared of deadly unexploded ordnance and are safe to approach. This is probably a good time to talk about the horrendous recent history of Laos. It remains the most heavily bombed country per capita in history due to a secret US air campaign during the Vietnam War. This northeastern area in particular was very heavily hit, and you can see that some of these enormous granite jars were sheared in half or reduced to rubble by munitions. An unbelievable 2 million tons of explosives were dropped on a non combatant country, which is equivalent to one plane load of bombs every 8 minutes for 24 hours a day for 9 years. Mostly in the form of these so called bommies, which are designed to spread out over a large area as they fall and kill indiscriminately. As terrifying as these numbers are, even more sinister is the fact that 1/3 of these bommies did not detonate on impact and continue to kill and maim civilians to this day, 20,000 people since the end of the war.
Oh, you found it over there. Ah, with a metal detector.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Boom.
Oh, bombing.
Despite the risks, some people still collect scrap metal for a living. As we drove through a small village, this man waved us over to his house and cheerfully started showing us his collection of unexploded ordnance and parts of planes. He and his wife melt down the metal to make spoons for restaurants, as well as a few decorative ornaments.
We're getting into the Far East now. The jungle is starting to get denser on either side of the road, and the villages are getting smaller. One of the main reasons we travelled here is to see some rare and endangered wildlife. Through the National Park Authority, we hired a guide and 2 ex-poachers to take us into a part of the national park that's only accessible by river.
The plan is to motor up the river against the current and wait until nightfall. Then we will use the cover of darkness to float silently back down the river and hopefully spot some nocturnal animals before camping somewhere in the jungle.
Our guide grew up here and has spent his whole life in the jungle. He used to poach animals and sell them to provide for his family. Now, through this new scheme, he has hired through the national park to show tourists the wildlife he once hunted. As a result of this, profits go back into the community to fund education. We learned about local foods, medicines, local legends, and a history that left behind these overgrown ruins from a bygone era.
They had the seed. The seeds when they correct to sell, so the fresh one. So 1 kilo allow 5 to 10,000 kip. But if they're already dry, so
So many.
yeah.
Who found these mushrooms, Lucy?
I found these mushrooms.
So after this gorgeous foraged dinner, the idea is to get back into the boat and use the current of the river to float silently through the jungle, spotting wildlife. However, in this part of the world, the weather is fickle, and out of nowhere we found ourselves battling through a pretty intense tropical storm.
Unfortunately, because of the thunder and the heavy rains, it scared off most of the wildlife, so we didn't get to see much apart from this spider that decided to take up residence in our little jungle hut.
It was crazy to see how much the river had swollen overnight, and it made for an express journey back into town.
Where are we, Lucy?
We're in Nong Kyo.
We had made it to Luang Prabang. After a good few weeks of solid travel, we had some work to do on the bike, and with our entry date for China drawing near, we decided this would be a good time for us to take a few days break and take some time to relax.
Luang Prabang is undoubtedly the spiritual capital of Laos, with 33 Buddhist monasteries packed into the small city on the banks of the Mekong. Every morning at sunrise, an ancient ceremony takes place. Monks walk silently through the streets to collect alms, donations of food from the local people. As they are not permitted to handle money and purchase food for themselves, gifted food is the only way they can sustain themselves.
It's really hard to pick up. I've had to stab it, which I feel bad about weirdly, but I'm going to do it in one.
Ini main duangnya nggak? Dia main nak? Yeah, this is a silkworm.
Silkworm.
Yeah. It's
So
a
it's
worm.
Pretty good. It's actually pretty good. So, a super quick explanation about what's going on here is this thing, if you don't know, it's called a petcock, and it turns your fuel on and off, which allows it to run through your bike. When I turn it off, it would leak, which I didn't worry about too much because I just always left it on. But now I've had a problem with my carburetor, and when it's left on, it overflows. Making sure I get rid of any little bits and bobs.
I am by no means a mechanic and have no idea what I'm doing here. Before this trip, the thought of pulling the bike apart was scary, but the reality is, it's actually really simple. A couple of YouTube videos with the right tools and the right attitude with a couple of beer Laos got the problem sorted. The next day we made our way to the border town called Bo Ten. It's a 2-day ride with some of the worst road we've ever experienced.
Botan is the last town in Laos before the Chinese border, and it's definitely one of the weirder places we've maybe ever visited. From a long way away, you start to see these huge skyscrapers, the biggest buildings we've seen since Bangkok. But once you get up close, they are mostly abandoned and empty, except for the ground floors of each one. And I am not exaggerating when I say about 50% of the businesses in town are brothels, including the hotel we stayed at. We didn't realise that, by the way, until we got into the room and discovered a very X-rated mini vending machine and a QR code that presumably summons a woman.
I think that is the border.
And that's it. That really wraps up our time in Laos as we take a leap into the much anticipated leg of the trip, China.
This is a big moment. We are leaving Laos, we are leaving Southeast Asia, and we are leaving the part of the world that we are familiar with. China is a complete unknown for us, and there's a lot riding on it. It is not easy or cheap to bring your own vehicle here, and crossing this border will be the result of months of planning. But let me tell you now, China blew our minds. Join us next time in Yunnan province, where we navigate a whole new world. If you made it this far, we love you. Help us out by hitting that like and subscribe button. Catch you next time.